Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MOVIEVERSE podcast show. This is my co-host, Big Nasty Productions. My name is the Habitual Pixel. Welcome to the road to the Oscars 2015, and we're almost done here, our second last film. Today we are doing The Theory of Everything, the most British to have ever Britished. And it's a pretty damn good film, though. Don't get me wrong. Yes. Would you like to briefly describe the story of this film?
Sure. Well, it's the story of Stephen Hawking's life as at university and onward after he meets the love of his life, if you will, Jane, who is his future wife, and he unfortunately suffers his diagnosis of, what did you say it was, Lou Gehrig's disease?
I believe it's Lou Gehrig's disease, or motor neuron disease. Yeah.
Something that basically affects your entire body and every muscle except for affecting your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And he then is getting his, I believe, doctorate, and she decides to stand by him even though he tries to push her away because he believes his work is too important for the world.
He's also given 2 years to live at that time.
Yeah, so he must dedicate all of his time with those 2 years to his work. And through that, they blossom into this loving marriage that eventually ends in them having relations with two other people who are briefly introduced. That part of it was a little weak, but the pieces of his theories of relativity and about black holes and time and all that sort of stuff, that was interesting. I thought those parts were a lot more interesting than the love story itself, but the entire thing as a whole was definitely done extremely well. Mm-hmm. An extremely well done film.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It is a History Channel kind of film. It is a history lesson brought to life. If you've ever studied anything to do with Mr. Hawking, you're going to know a lot of this stuff already. You're going to know that he left his wife to date his nurse and all the struggles he went through, tracheotomy, being the first person to use computers to talk, because that was his only form of communication. Other stuff like that, you're going to know most of this stuff. And unfortunately, it's another biopic movie as well, which, as we described in our last review, we're not the most fond of these days. And that's okay, because this one's a little bit more well done, I think. I think it's acted superbly by the main character. And the supporting cast is good too, but mainly the what's his face who plays Mr. Hawking?
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne, sorry. His performance is top notch.
Absolutely outstanding.
Most likely best actor material for sure. Because he, as Stephen Hawking comes down with this disease, you see him travel through it, from losing his ability to walk to being completely immobilized and then eventually not being able to speak, and he just acts it superbly.
That's what I mean. This was light years beyond Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in That Foot.
It is a lot like that performance.
It's a lot like it, but I mean, it's like that when he first starts getting sick. All through what happens after. I mean, up until when he's completely immobile and unable to speak even. That is even more impressive than what Daniel Day-Lewis did, because that's above and beyond what anybody's really been able to do as far as playing somebody who's suffering from some sort of illness or disease.
Oh yeah, it was spot on, the portrayal of this disease, and Stephen Hawking as well. He looks the part on top of acting amazing. It's probably one of the better performances I've seen in a couple of years, most likely. And that's not, that's definitely saying something. I find the story is a little bit slow and a little bit predictable because, hey, surprise, it happened. And you can't really get away from that with these kind of stories. I get that, but at least they presented details, some of which I didn't know, in a very artistic and well done fashion. And that's the best you can hope for with these kind of biopic movies, is that at the very least you learn something new, and then there's a good performance to be found, and this is one of the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly didn't. There was a bunch of stuff I didn't know about.
Me too.
Sort of either his struggles or even some of the different theories that he touched on. Excuse me, but I thought it was overall just an extremely well made film, and like you said, just superbly acted. It was probably the best overall cast in any of the Best Picture nominations, and that's including Grand Budapest, which I would say is a close second. But it's impressive to me that the ensemble in this was just worked so well together. And I mean, obviously, it does mainly focus around just Stephen Hawking and Jane, and even some of his professional stuff. But in the early years, when it has him with his friends, all of it's believable. They all do an extremely good job of making it seem realistic, and that it was definitely believable acting performances on their behalf. And honestly, same with later on in the film. You know what I mean? When you see him again with the professors and stuff like that, as soon as he kind of proves one of those theories, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the beginning of this film where he's first introduced to Jane and is kind of pursuing her and drinking with his buddies like students do. But he just happens to be one of the smartest men in the universe. But he does still like to have a pint with his buddies, and it does touch on his Hawking sense of humor, which I guess he does have a great sense of humor, and that's definitely illustrated throughout the film as he does crack jokes and does a smile and a wink sometimes, and I like that they touched on that. It's just like you said, all the cast is good. We can talk about some other performances if you want.
Sure.
Felicity Jones takes up the role as Jane Hawking, his wife. What do you think of her performance?
I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, her performance? Yeah. No, I thought she was great. I thought she did a fantastic job throughout the film.
Oh, she is gorgeous, though.
Continue. She was definitely on par as far as emotional depiction and as far as just kind of like a dynamic form of her acting is similar to how Eddie Redmayne performed. I thought she definitely did a fantastic job and better than a lot of the supporting cast as far as supporting females go from the other Best Picture nominations. But yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, it was.
She does have a Best Actress nomination this year.
Oh, does she? Okay, I wouldn't say it was the best I've ever seen, but it was definitely the best out of the class from what we've viewed so far. But I thought she did a great job. I also thought, what's his name? He's also I'm pretty sure he's Ron Weasley's father in Harry Potter, the professor.
Oh, hold on. Professor. Yeah,
Let me know if he's Ron Weasley's dad.
Okay, I can't remember his name, but
isn't that the redheaded kid's name from Harry Potter?
Yep, Ron Weasley. Fuck, I can't find him. Second. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from them, I mean, I thought for the little bit that they were in, the only people I thought that did kind of an odd job where it was just seemed strange, but I don't know, maybe it was supposed to kind of seem strange just to sort of depict how his family relation was. But when they have that dinner, when he first starts dating her at his parents' house,
yeah,
his family was a little peculiar. Yeah, I thought that scene seemed just a little bit odd and kind of very strange the way that it seemed to alienate Jane, but at the same time, they didn't seem to do that at all until he got sick. And then the dad even then tries to tell her to basically that he's not going to be easy to take care of and this and that, and it doesn't seem to scare her away. But
yeah, no, she's definitely a loyal girlfriend and wife. Holy shit.
The family was the only ones where they seemed kind of irrelevant, really. I mean,
they were kind of irrelevant. Just they didn't come back into the story again.
That's what I mean.
Again, after that point,
they really didn't matter. Yeah.
No, it's it comes down to the relationship between Jane and Hawking for a good over half of this film, and it's definitely interesting. But I don't think they they focused enough on his academics, and I'd like to see more on that. And that's
Yeah,
just
I thought it was
my
done well when they did.
yeah. That's just my curiosity in his academics because I don't know a whole lot about them, and it's definitely cool to see how he came to these startling realizations and the struggle he had even to explain them to other scientists and get them on the same page, just by his his problems with communication. Period. And it's definitely sad to watch that, and I don't know. This is an amazing performance. I just can't really get over it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, according to the film, I could be wrong. Maybe he was starting even before in real life, but he was struck by this illness while he was getting his doctorate. So I mean, he was suffering from the illness even before he started doing any lectures or started teaching or anything like that, or really developing his theories and truth.
He did his best work when he was at
yeah, exactly.
his body was at his worst. Right?
And I mean, I honestly thought that the way that they shot the academic parts was actually some of the best filmmaking in the whole thing, because just some of the shots that they did even when he was at the first lecture when he was with the professor before he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite scene in the whole movie is probably the first time when his hand starts shaking when he's on the chalkboard, and then when he leaves the building, he just boom hits the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see his legs start going.
Yeah,
that sounds terrible, because I guess that makes it sound like I liked watching him fall on his face.
No.
But no, I honestly just thought the way that they did that scene was gorgeous in how they shot it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
that sequence, sorry.
I feel they illustrate his struggle amazingly well. Because, I love the scene where he's giving a lecture and a girl drops his pen and he just envisions himself getting up and picking it up for her. And it's just the smallest, he has such an amazing mind that can do shit that none of us can even touch, but he can't pick up his own pen that falls off the table, right? And it illustrates that kind of fucked up duality that Stephen Hawking's life is, one of the greatest minds are of our generation, I guess. But yet he can't, it takes a computer for him to be able to even tell us what's in his brain. And I thought that was illustrated very well in this film. I dug that.
Yeah, I thought so as well. And like you said, I mean, the story does drag on a bit with the romantic aspects of it, but I feel like the filmmaking does.
They had to make it a movie, I guess.
I do feel like the way that it's shot and the direction of it and how it's edited, I do feel like that kind of makes up for the kind of dull moments in the story. I do feel it's still carried on well because of that. Like, for instance, I didn't think it was as slow as, say, Selma or Boyhood.
Oh.
But I definitely still don't think it was anywhere near as good as Grand Budapest Hotel. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just not my style of film, but I did definitely think it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I think was my only problem as well. This isn't exactly my style of film.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't the best, but it was good. It was entertaining.
I wouldn't ever see myself rushing out to see the Stephen King biopic. That doesn't sound like me. But I am glad I watched it because it turned out to be better than expected. And this is another film that just could have been another biopic and been another average at best, another Lincoln or J. Edgar or what have you. But excuse me, it's much better than that, much better than those films that came before it in the the biopic realm. And I think a lot of that has to do with just how much of an actual personal struggle Mr. Hawking went through. And
and Eddie Redmayne's performance.
Yeah, and Eddie Redmayne makes that, just makes the performance and makes you feel that struggle. But yet at the same time, he, remarkable humanity still, because he does still have a sense of humor after all that. And he also gets chicks, too.
Could you imagine how badly this could have went if it was a lesser actor playing that role?
Oh, it could have been embarrassing or just disrespectful.
Oh, yeah. Because, we're talking full portrayal from the time he starts getting sick and first starts losing his ability to speak, and all the way to when he basically is completely unable to and has to use the computer to speak. and starts typing, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due.
Yeah, in the...
Apparently that's the first thing he ever typed into the computer.
Really? The computer voice was provided by Steven's own computer for this film. Fun fact.
Is that really? That's actually hilarious.
Fun fact.
Oh, sorry, not the first thing. The first thing he said was, "My name is Stephen Hawking," right? But remember, he's sitting there playing with it, and he types in that.
Yeah. And it is kind of like, I don't know. I think they developed that technology for him back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. And
which is funny, because I remember that. Remember that one little purple monkey that you could have on your computer, and he would talk like that.
Yeah, I remember.
Pretty sure that was one of the songs that was pre-programmed into it too.
That would be because of Mr. Hawking, I would imagine. Yeah, he's an important dude, and this illustrates his life very well. And there's going to be a lot of little in-between bits that aren't going to be for everybody regarding his wife, his problems with the wife and his wife eventually falling for this. I don't know who he is, like a
minister.
He's like a piano teacher, and
he's like a minister or something, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he was a minister originally, and he becomes an assistant to the family, and obviously some feelings spark up there, and later on some feelings between Stephen and his nurse happen, and they realize they have to separate, and that's a story that's not going to be for everyone, but it's pulled off rather well, and it doesn't drag as much as some of the films that we've seen this year, and that's what makes those scenes tolerable, is because it doesn't drag all that much. Yeah, that's good.
It's definitely better than a lot of the others. I'd say it's easily in the top 3. Maybe top 4, but either way, I really don't think that there's too much to complain about with the film.
No.
Other than some of the dull parts of the story, but other than that, I really don't think that there's too much wrong with it. Like, the acting is absolutely spectacular. A lot of the art direction is well done. The cinematography is well done.
Yeah, we can talk. I thought the direction was, again, what didn't try anything extravagant, but it also illustrated his.
See, I think it did kind of try different things. I mean, with the lecture, how that was filmed, the setup with the camera work, where it was kind of moving forward and over as it passed by.
Okay, yeah.
I thought that was kind of elegantly done. It seemed like a nice sweep.
Yeah, it's very. I was gonna say it's
a lot of nice,
very elegant
when they do it.
Yeah, elegant filmmaking. Everything is very clean, and I like it. And I was gonna say it does illustrate his Steven's point of view a lot of the time really well, and what he's picking up on, and what because he is a silent observer for a lot of scenes later on, and it shows you his perspective really well. I thought it was directed fantastically. James Marsh is the director, who has done nothing I've really heard of. The King, Man on a Wire. You remember that documentary? Yeah, he did that. And Shadow Dancer from a couple of years ago. Yeah, that I never ended up seeing.
Good for him, because this is definitely his best work then.
I agree with that. And I've always had a mild fascination with science as well, so I enjoy that underlining tone as well. So I think it's going to be personal preference whether you enjoy this film or not. But if you like acting, I
remember when I was younger too. I remember my dad had a copy of A Brief History.
A Brief History, yeah. I've briefly flipped through A Brief History, and I've always been meaning to go back and read it all the way through. But
yeah, I've never read it, and I haven't been meaning to. But
hey, I haven't been meaning to that hard, evidently. It's some dense topics, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to touch on with this film? I liked it a lot. I think it's top 3 material for this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that again, too. I thought it was highly enjoyable. I didn't think it was overall, blow me away, but the acting performance of Eddie Redmayne is definitely breathtaking. He does a superb performance, and like you said,
That's worth
even better than
consideration.
Daniel Day-Lewis for My Left Foot. So, yeah, just that alone makes this film a must-see. So
I agree.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 myself. I just think the acting is so strong by the main character that it's worth seeing for that reason alone. I hope he gets Best Actor this year because he deserves it. I mean, he's up against some real talent for sure.
I hope
But
she gets Best Actress as well.
yeah, I would love to see both of those. That's unfortunately I can't say this is the best movie overall, but some of the best acting in the year, hands down. And I think, yeah, and if you enjoy a good performance and a moving story, you're gonna find a lot to like here. And it just comes down to whether or not you enjoy these kind of historical biopic kind of films. This is by far one of the best, I feel.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, so that's gonna wrap up our somewhat brief review of A Theory of Everything. But hey, there's not a whole lot to say on the film. It was
Hey, it's a brief history of the theory of everything.
yes, an abridged history of the theory of everything. But I think we got our point across there. We have one more film to go, The Imitation Game, which may come up after the Oscars. Who knows? But I'm gonna try and get out to you as soon as possible, and we're gonna do an Oscar, like a predictions kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna go up before Sunday before the Oscars.
The road to the Oscars wrap-up show.
Yes, that's what we'll call it. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Links to all of our work in the description below. Check us out. Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time.